is that 1000 HP walking ult donation. And SparkR will take out Mouse off to the side, has the pulse ball in the middle of free! Triggered by Naru as the primal rage expires. He wakes up to a stick. He nearly donates another kill over to SparkR if he wasn't too careful. Who's now on the hunt for Mouse? The little love tap over to...
The Emperors of the European League, British Hurricane, and London Spitfire's ace, it's none other than SparkR. We recently kicked off the Pro or Not series featuring the former London Spitfire coach Spilo for the first episode, so go check that video out. And thanks to Coach Spilo, we were able to receive some replay codes from the London Spitfire players, so huge shout out to the London team as well. The map is Colosseo, and for the team composition, we have a complete dive comp. Colosseo has lots of straight paths and long sightlines, and in these spots, Hitscan heroes are incredibly powerful and tend to be the biggest threats on the map. So if you go main towards the bot, it's obvious that he's going to be helpless against heroes with better poke, so SparkR wants to utilize the side instead. After we spot the Tracer, SparkR teleports up to find a chance to engage on the enemy backline. By engaging into the backline, this sets up an opening for our ally Doomfist to engage with less risk. Well, never mind, let's just swap to Widow. Like we mentioned before, we want to set up a favorable angle using the linear design of the map. Keep in mind the Cassidy moving right, and we pick off the enemy Ana who is not prepared for the Widow swap. Since we know the Cassidy's position, SparkR holds the angle for an easy pick, winning the teamfight with just 2 shots. In the next fight, we have another long sightline, which is highly in our favor. After using a turn in our current position, SparkR swaps angles exactly like we saw with Prophet's Widow in our previous analysis video. What in the world is that Ramadra doing? We missed a shot on the enemy Ana, exposing our current position. The enemy Ana makes a huge mistake though, jumping out into the open despite knowing SparkR's position, and he of course makes sure to punish it. Now that Ana is dead, there's no chance for the enemies to retake the fight. We peek towards the spawn, but with no enemies in sight, SparkR pops ult for info, making sure to check the flank for any dangers. Again, you always want to take advantage of long sightlines, making it difficult for the enemies to come forward and contest the bot. The Cassidy deserved to die just walking out in the open like that. The enemy Ramadra tries to force his way in with Nano Annihilation, and our supports for some reason decide to save ult, ending the fight. Predicting that the enemy Tracer is going to contest us, SparkR checks for potential flanks and spots the Tracer. Note the Cassidy sound cues in the back, and the enemy Tracer peeks while poisoned, giving us a free kill. With Cassidy still in the back, SparkR makes a wonderful decision to reposition by exiting towards the front line and out of the Cassidy's angle. Continuing on this path, we get free access into the enemy backline for some juicy picks, timing the shots to the peak of the enemy jump animation rather than taking rushed shots. The enemy Tracer was picked off first, so we need to locate the position of the Tracer before committing to an angle on high ground. We go for a light hook shot, and while our team is pushing the bot, SparkR falls back out of the danger zone, providing cover for the allies by making it difficult for the enemies to push into our team. Although not the flashiest playstyle, it's a sure way to get value, providing a function only ranged heroes can do. We're back to the long sightline on high ground. When Orisa approaches, rather than disengaging to the right, which would isolate you as a target, SparkR retreats to the left into our allies near bot. I get it, it's fun to jump around in Overwatch, but against the Widow, jumping around is one of the worst things you can do because your movement becomes so predictable. And they're standing still. Okay, maybe the Tracer was flaming in chat, I don't know. Our allies are all dead, which means that the enemy Sojourner or even the KROW can push up early to take angles, but if we ult early like this as our allies are respawning, we can prevent the enemies from taking a positional advantage for free, meaning our team has a chance to quickly take momentum for the next team fight, exactly like so. Please, stop jumping around, supports. You have to realize jumping while in a Widow's sightline is literally throwing. Because the supports are getting picked off so much, the enemy DPS now have no choice but to focus on dealing with their Widow. The enemy Widow ults, and SparkR, knowing that he has the aggro, he falls back to better cover and has the enemy DPS flirt with the idea that he will peek around the corner, allowing the allies to easily win the fight with little to no pressure coming from the enemy team. With the rest of our allies in front, SparkR is able to stay away from the spawn uncontested. The enemy DPS aren't playing up to par, but the supports are also being incredibly careless and getting picked off almost every fight. If I had to take a guess, the enemies are most likely tilted out of their minds, with the supports yelling at the DPS to kill the Widow and causing a complete divide amongst themselves. It's fine if you tilt, but you're only hurting your chances of coming back if you cause a divide. We can see that the enemy team has completely lost their will to fight back, but who can blame him? It's now Cassidy time. I've noticed that a lot of players aren't very familiar with how to play on Illios, especially on Lighthouse. When you're on a hero with medium range like Cassidy, you don't want to take the enemy long-ranged heroes head on at a distance that favors them. Rather, you want to keep your turns short and avoid giving the ranged enemy heroes an angle from high ground. By taking control of Pillar and the mini health pack, you're able to get cover from the enemies while being able to pressure the backline and even get an angle onto the point. If the enemies drop down to apply objective pressure, Cassidy now has the advantage in a range that favors your kid. Cassidy is one of the best heroes at denying space, and on a map like Illios Lighthouse, you can take full advantage of this quality by controlling the sides and flank routes to force the enemies out of position. With the enemies now taking the role of being the attackers, it's important to make it tricky for the ball and tracer to dive you effectively. One of the best ways to accomplish this is to position yourself in an area surrounded by open space, and bait the enemy dive heroes into jumping us without any effective cover. That way, the enemies can only pressure you for a short period of time and have to force cooldowns to both engage and escape in the process. What differentiates pros from normal players is their ability to execute strategies and positions like this that prevent you from fighting back effectively. It's the root cause of why some games feel so unwinnable, despite the fact that both teams are at similar mechanical skill levels. SparkR isn't the ace of one of the top teams in the Overwatch League for no reason. Now for Illios Ruins, the enemies are utilizing main instead of taking control of the bridge, which is putting a whole lot of faith on their Widow, and in turn we're able to easily take the position instead, which is one of the most important areas on Ruins. The bridge gives you initiative directly onto the objective and allows you to take a side angle and even go on a short flank. It also reduces the distance the ally tank needs to travel in order to target any of the enemy squishies, so at least for the very first fight, it almost never hurts to start bridge. Because of how dominantly we've won the first round and the first fight of round 2, we have an incredible amount of momentum on our side. The retake onto Illios Ruins is horrendously difficult because of the choke that cuts off the enemy's sightlines when the enemy frontline pushes in. As long as you're able to take the forward hold, the enemies will be forced to invest multiple ults just to break the choke. If you take a look at the enemy positions, they're incredibly invested in using coasts and are giving up massive amounts of space, so we can easily catch any of the enemies that split off and the team can take multiple angles surrounding the enemies. Get the free pick on the Genji, walk back to main for one angle, and let our tracer take the other. Say goodbye to the diva, and it's easy money for the dub. Thanks for watching today's analysis video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.